All right, this is Edward Carbajal for Spectation Sports. I'm speaking with Torrez Finney, who he got the call up for a Dana White's Contender Series on October 10th. Torrez, thank you for making time to talk on a Sunday.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ed. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, man. I'm happy to be here. Just got done eating after church. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I mean, the more I work, the longer I work with Spectation Sports, and I get the opportunity to talk with guys like yourself, it renews my interest in martial arts, especially mixed martial arts competition. Just as I'm about to kind of like get tired of the way things are going with the way things trend on social media and stuff, and then I get to talk to guys like yourself that remind me of how special this sport is and how special it is what you guys do. I mean, it always makes me talk to. I teach jujitsu, so it always makes me talk to like
Okay.
the young guys that come up, and the conversations I have with fighters like yourself, especially with the opportunity you have in front of you. It means a lot to me. So thanks a lot for taking time to talk, especially on a Sunday. I know you said you're just coming out of church, so
Yes, sir.
thank
No,
you.
you good.
So before I get started, because I got a lot of questions for you, especially with your history with Spectation Sports fighting on Aries and stuff like that. I feel like are you in the training room with Trevor Peak at all?
Oh man, am I? That's an everyday thing, man. We both live here at the gym and we both train full time. So yeah, man, I see Trevor every day. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So he was like, when it comes to where you train at Agogi Combatives, he was like the first guy that got on my radar when I first got higher expectations. Where he's one of the first people I interviewed, and then he fought a few times before he got the call up for Contender Series. So it's like it seems, in my perspective, the gym has been put on the map since they picked him up, and the fact that now you're about to follow the same path. I mean, is it by coincidence, or did you just, when he got there, did the UFC just say, "Oh my God, there's a bunch of monsters in there"?
Yeah, well, man, I'll tell you, we have a plan, along with my team, but not along with Agogi, but also with my
Mhm.
management team. We have a plan, and we just stay to the course of the plan, and a lot of the times, sometimes you're like, man, you see these other guys that get these opportunities, and you're like, man, I feel like, I'm on that level, or I feel like, that should be me. We always feel like, oh, that should be us right there. But, God has his timing, and had to get one more fight. I was really expecting after my fight in April against Caleb Crump that would have been maybe the Contender Series or maybe the call it in, but
Mm.
that wasn't to be. And my management team talking with the UFC and wanted me to get one more in. I got one more in August, and it's very similar. Me and Trevor's path was actually very same. Trevor fought earlier in the year, then he fought his big fight against Common Worthy in
Mm.
August. And he got the call for September. So, and I'm right there. So I fought in August, and I get my call, but I fight in October. So the timing is perfect, man, and I'm excited. And plus, it gives me the difference between me and Trevor. Trevor only had like 3 to 4 weeks after he just fought Come Worthy to jump right back in there. Whereas I was able to have a full fight camp for this one, so I'm happy and I'm excited for the opportunity, man.
Hmm.
I'm really excited for the opportunity, so I'm ready to show the world who Torrez Finney is.
Yeah, man. I mean, and before we even get into like your fighting style and stuff like that, first, because this is going to be the eyeballs that are going to be on you for this event. You're going to be brand new to a lot of people. So can you just talk about like how'd you find your way into Agogi Combatives or in mixed martial arts? Like what got you into fighting?
Well, so when I first started, I was playing college football at University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and obviously the big thing, the COVID hit. So when COVID hit, um, a lot of things would change. I had started boxing about January of 2020 because I had an injury in football. I came back from it, still wasn't allowed to play yet, but the season that was getting ready to end for us anyway. And then about January of 2020, I started boxing a little bit. And I was like, and some of the guys at the boxing gym was like, man, we train at this jiu-jitsu gym called Agogi. So
Mm.
I go try for one time, go with my coach Matt, and I'm about 250 at two. I about to say about 240 actually, about 240. So I was I'm like a little bowling ball. I'm not the tallest, but I do got some width, and I was able to go with Coach Matt, and he put it on me. But I've wrestled all my life, but I had never been done that way. It's obviously how jiu-jitsu is different. And I was like, man, this is something I want to do because I like challenges. I'm like, okay, this is something I think I want to try out. And COVID hit, and I go back home. But when I go back home, I'm thinking about MMA, I was like, man, I want to try this out, man. And I'm just watching so much video, so much all of UFC, Bellator. I mean, anything one. I'm watching all types of mixed martial arts, the old school stuff. And this was every day because nobody was working, nobody was doing anything. So every single day I'm watching it. I'm practicing kicks in my room. I'm looking up tutorials how to throw punches and kicks in MMA and jiu-jitsu stuff. And I was just like so invested. And when I came back for football, we had to have a 2-week quarantine period before you're allowed to start practicing. Mm-hmm. And I know I should have probably been quarantined, but I would sneak out of the dorm and head to Agogi to train jiu-jitsu. And I would do that every day. And I just fell in love with it. And I started fighting about 4 months later, and the rest is history, which is another thing is October 3rd, 2020 was when I made my amateur debut. And I fight October 10th. So it'll be exactly exactly 3 years and 1 week from the day I first started fighting MMA. So, it's been an entire journey, man. 3 years, and to have that opportunity to be able to fight on the biggest stage in the world in just 3 years, I feel like is a blessing.
It is, man. I mean, I'm making the note of it now because that's amazing. I mean, it seems like there's the new MMA fighter is waking up like guys to realize like if you see something you want to do, you just got to start doing it instead of preparation counts, but you can commit to the act of following your dreams as soon as you want to do it. So 3 years is amazing. You mentioned wrestling and football. So, I mean, your record says otherwise, but so what would you say is your base? Because I mean, if there's a history of like explosive power coming from wrestling, translating very well to when wrestlers learn how to strike and producing a high number of knockouts. Is that what happened with you, or you did mention boxing too? So what would you say is like what's your base martial art before jiu-jitsu and all of that?
Well, I'll say my base martial art is wrestling, a mix of wrestling and BJJ. I'm a 2-time state champion in wrestling coming out of high school. I went 40-0 my senior year, placed at nationals. I went to nationals. I got 9th in the nation. So, and I had a lot of offers for wrestling coming out of high school and going into college. But my growing up in the South, from Georgia, it's like that football mindset. And that's what I grew up in. I've been playing football since I was 4. And the first thing I'm always thinking of is, man, NFL, D1 football, and every time I would go to a certain college, I would ask them, they give me a scholarship in wrestling. I was like, can I can I walk on or play football as well? And they would be like, no, we want to give you a scholarship for wrestling. So, I would talk to them, listen and everything. But in the back of my head, I'm like, well, they're off the list because they didn't let me play football. So, and I should have thought of it that way, but that's the way I was at the time. And little did I never thought I'd be ever fighting MMA. So that's another thing. I never thought that this would be my journey. This would be my path. And now it is. Obviously, you're like, man, I probably should have wrestled more in college. But I did have those type of accolades. I mean, I've wrestled with a lot of top-tier college wrestlers. I've wrestled with even some guys that's competed national or in the Olympics. So I've had opportunities to wrestle with those guys and done well. And I knew I could have definitely been on that level, having those accolades of All-American in college or this type of champion in college. I felt like I could have done that. But that wasn't my path. And, and I was able to become an all-conference football player in the UTC. But I do, man. But my base is wrestling. I've wrestled since 7th grade. So I've been wrestling ever since I was a young cat, and it stayed with me. I did take a few years off when I was playing college. I did wrestle in college my sophomore year. But after that, I don't wrestle anymore because I did eventually earn a scholarship when I walked on the football team. So, everything happened for a reason, but I enjoyed it, man. But wrestling is my base, and I love it. But a lot of those finishes come from the ground and pound. Me on top, taking them down, and beating their head in.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's because, like I said, on paper, if someone looked at your record, they would think you're a striker. But I mean, you just gave a really good explanation as to your foundation and your paths to victory. But what was your reaction when you got called up for? I know you said there was a plan and everything with your management, but like, you never know when something happens until it actually happens.
That's right.
So when you found out that you finally did get the call, what was your reaction to it?
Man, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget this. We was heading back from Nashville the night after the fight, well, the day after the fight, and I had just won, and this was back in August, like August 5th. And we was riding back, and my agent called me because he stayed at the house with us, and I'm thinking he left something at the house, at the Airbnb. And he calls me. He's like, "What are you doing on October 10th?" And I instantly knew already once he said October 10th, because with me, I was already like, I knew all the dates for the Contender Series. I'm like, man, I hope I was actually hoping I fight on October 3rd. It would have been exactly 3 years since my first Amy fight. I said that just would have been special, but regardless, still October. It's still in my birthday month, so I'm loving it even still. And I'm like, I know what October 10th is. That's a Tuesday. You got the call, and I was like, man, and when it's different when after each fight we're expecting. After each fight, after I said I fought in April, I was expecting, didn't get it. After this fight in August, I was expecting, I did get it. It was more once I got the call, I was like, okay, we got it. But it's different when, like you just said, when you actually get it. It's different. That's when it sets in a little bit. And I did get a little emotional because, you work so hard for an opportunity, and, sometimes you get that no. And then when it finally comes, you're excited. And the reason why I'm really excited for this opportunity, and I'm so excited to be able to show the world my skill set, is I've been doubted a lot. I've been doubted ever since I was young. I've been doubted since I was in Little League, been doubted since middle school, high school, college, you name it. I'm either too short for this or too small for this, or not big enough for this. And, or, that's just not you. But when I first started MMA, a lot of people didn't think that was for me. They said, man, that's not you. You're too nice. That's not the type of sport you should be doing. That's not for you. I had an amateur boxing match when I first started boxing. I had only had 3 months of boxing experience, and I fought against a guy that had 2 years of it. And I came up short. I lost by decision, but I didn't care. I mean, I'm a guy like trying, I don't care. And, you lose an amateur boxing fight, and they're like, oh, that's not for you. You should never do that. You should never do that. And I actually did pretty good in it early on. I gassed out. When you're a football player jumping in boxing, you ain't got the cardio for it correctly yet. But I was just so anxious to compete. That's the wrestler in me. And, it is what it is. But, oh, that's not for you. You shouldn't do that. That's not good. And I'm like, man, that only excited me even more. I was like, man, if I'm able to do this against a guy that got 2 years of experience, you give me 2 years to let me see where I'm at. If I still look the same way I look, then you're right. I shouldn't be there. But I knew in my mind, in my heart, that I'm going to continue to get better because I'm going to focus on it. And that's what I did. That's why, you doubt me, I'm a little hard-headed for success, man. I want to do it even more. So I'm just really blessed and excited, man.
Yeah, that seems to be the right way to handle. Like if you want to be successful and people doubt you, you definitely it should light the fire to prove them wrong. So that's a really good way to look at it. Before I ask you my last question, just because of something you said with the timing and everything, I mean, what are you somebody that like did you? Because it seems like you visualized it. People talk about visualizing goals in their life and then having them come to fruition. Do you credit to what's happening right now to that? Or I mean, it's obviously hard work too, because you're putting in the work. Like, what do you credit it to?
Well, I credit to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me to be able to do this. But my faith, not only in Him, one of my quotes I have on my Instagram bio, I learned it from my college wrestling coach. But he said, "You show me the odds, I show you my trust in God." And I love when people say the odds. I feel like I'm probably gonna be the underdog going into this fight. So be it. I've always, my junior year, I wrestled against a guy that was a 2-time state champ. He actually just beat me the week before the state tournament week at sectionals. He only beat me 11-9. And I walked off that mat. I said, Coach, I'm going to see him in the state championship next week. I'm going to beat him. Now, granted, you got to go through a whole tournament of guys, other tough cats as well. And, making it to the state championship is not easy. And I was able to do that. And I had some tough matches along the way, but I was able to do that. And I saw the guy Russell, he beat me, and I met him in the state championship, and I beat him in overtime in the state title. And it was just having that type of, mindset of visualizing how the match goes. Now, obviously, things go differently than what you sometimes think, but me visualizing what's going to be the end result. Same thing for this year. Going into this year, my goal was to get 3 fights in on the year. And by the end of the year, I said my goal is wanted to be into a big promotion by the end of this year. And obviously my top goal was the UFC. And this is my 3rd fight on the year. And my 3rd fight is an opportunity to make that dream come true. Most of the times I have to wait on somebody to, in a way, I still do this, right? I still have to get the answer from Dana. It's not just win and you get it. You got to win. I don't feel impressed. But most of the time I have to wait on the recruiter or wait on the coach to see whether or not, rather than my skills speak for itself. But now I get to actually have, to be the one to have that hand in my own say so. And that's why I'm so happy. That's why I'm so happy and excited because, I love the matchup. I love the fight I got bestowed upon me, and I'm ready. I've been training so hard for this, and this is just going to be this is just the beginning. That's what people don't understand. This is just the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something to hear, just to hear you guys talk about the focus you have and what you've been through and what you got in front of you and the hard work, and not for nothing the humbleness too, especially like you and I just like the same vibe I got when I spoke with Trevor. The guy, you guys are just like super humble and grateful for to be able to do what you do. And but for fans that don't know you, when October 10th comes, like what can they expect to see from Torrez Finney come your ultimate job interview?
A man that's going in there on a mission. I'm going in there on a mission, man. I'm going in there to smash the opponent I have in there in front of me, and I'm going to, it doesn't matter who it is. I go in there to dominate every round if it makes it all the rounds, and to go in there and get the win, man. That's the main thing. I'm going in there just to get the win. If I go in there and get the win, I always say my performance will speak for itself. So I'm going in there to get that win, man, and I'm going there to get that UFC contract. It's mine to lose, and I'm not going to let that happen. This is my opportunity. My opponent, he had an opportunity on the Dana White looking for a fight on YouTube, and he had he had his opportunity, and he didn't impress Dana enough. He impressed Dana to get him a contender series, but Dana literally said on there, the only one that impressed him was the guy that was in the main event, which he wasn't, but there was another guy that was also looking at as well. So he had his opportunity. Now it's my opportunity. Your chance was then. You didn't make the best of it. Now it's my turn. And I feel like I would definitely make the best of it. I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm excited. People ask me about, do you feel pressure? Obviously, any fighter feels pressure walking in a cage, but it's just going to be another day for me. It's going to be no different than when I fought in August and no different than when I fought my amateur debut. Obviously, the nerves are going to always set in, but I'm going in there still thinking about the plan ahead, going in there to smash my opponent and get him out of there.
And your opponent's Puri Ferov. I hope I'm not messing up his name. You and him have a similar record, 6-0.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it looks like you've researched him already pretty well. I mean, what do you, as far like how do you, I don't even know what your fight preparation is. Like, do you do a lot of tape study? How do you get ready for a guy like that?
Yes, sir. I do watch a lot of tape. I watch. I am. So look, like I said, I come from a football background. So football background, we study, man. I was a big film watcher when I played football, and I was a big film watcher even when I wrestled. Me getting it from football allowed me to put it in wrestling. So I'm gonna know everything. I watch everything on him. I watch all of like his practice or all of his fights, even his amateur fights, the tendencies. So and I do that with all my opponents. Some of my opponents have tendencies from the time that they start as an amateur still up to a pro. There's certain things that they change, but some of the stuff still stays the same. Obviously, they progress in skill set, but you look at those tendencies, and then you also look at the way that they handle adversity, man. And sometimes some guys just don't handle adversity the way you would think. And I really do believe this is going to be another chance and opportunity for me to be able to exploit that. And he's a solid opponent. He's definitely a really good opponent. He got 6 wins, all 6 first round finishes, all of them by submission. So he's a big time jiu-jitsu guy. Did a little judo when he was young, and but he never grew up wrestling. So most people see a Russian and they're like, oh man, the wrestler. He actually never grew up wrestling. So that I feel like that's going to be a little bit of the difference maker. But I definitely respect him a lot, and I do think he's a formidable opponent. But I am going there to get the job done. It's more about me fighting myself than me fighting him. If I go in there and be me, I always say this to anytime anybody asks me, if I go in there and be me, I don't think anybody on the planet can beat me. So he has to deal with my skill set, and I do believe, man, once I get my hands placed on him, he will be in my world.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a really good matchup, and it should make for a pretty entertaining fight. I'm sure the highlights that'll come out of it are going to be something else. But well, listen, Torrez. I mean, this was fun for me. Again, I mean, talking to you guys, it keeps the sport fun for me personally. So I really do appreciate your time. If if I don't know if you have anything you want to plug before I let you go, by all means, go right ahead.
Yes, I want to first, like I said, thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving me the opportunity, and thank you for giving me the chance to be able to come in here and speak on this platform. Thank you to Agogi for the training, Peak Kinetic Performance for my strength conditioning. They helped me out a lot with, my cardio and everything in that facet. All my coaches, Matt Harris, Sterling Peace, Larry Scott, and all my training partners, Trevor, Zane, Josh Booker, Logan, Garrett Gross, you name it. I got a lot of training partners, man, and all the people that helped me along the way. Thank you to Aries for the platform as well to fight on, and then obviously other promotions that I fought on as well. So, man, thank you, man. Thank you to everyone that's giving me the opportunity. Thank you to my family for all the support. So,
Well, thank you, and good luck to you.
yes, sir. Thank you.